It's the infamous NFL trade deadline day. Broncos country, welcome into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. My name is Moose. Join us live in just a few short hours when we will be broadcasting to you everything going on in the NFL right here on the channel. You're going to get some last-minute rumors on this episode today from NFL insiders like Dianna Russini, one of my very favorites. She's excellent at what she does. Now, she might not be the Adam Schefters of the world, but she does talk to a lot of high-ranking officials throughout the NFL, a lot of GMs, assistant GMs, coaches, scouts, etc. She also just dropped some brand new trade intel surrounding the Denver Broncos and the rest of the NFL. But she does preface all of her information by saying this about the trade deadline as a whole. The trade deadline is just days away, so this was written on, I believe it was Friday, which means it is time to reset what we know and what I've been hearing heading into Tuesday. And a reminder, when a coach or GM insists publicly that a player is not on the block, it doesn't mean that they're not taking calls. Well, I do know this. The Broncos have 100% confirmed by multiple sources from CBS Sports, Adam Schefter, Dianna Russini, and Jeremy Fowler that the Broncos have made calls surrounding wide receivers and now most recently, tight ends. Interesting enough, here's what Dianna Russini specifically had to say about the Denver Broncos. The Broncos are monitoring the tight end market, even after signing Mercedes Lewis to their practice squad. Interesting stuff that we're hearing now. So, what do we know for sure before we actually start with the trade deadline coverage? It is obvious and clear the Broncos want another weapon. I think we know this to be true. And producer Alper, if you want to really quickly show the wide receiver depth chart, I want to just highlight a couple of things because I have seen so many fans getting down in the comments section. They clown me for supporting Bo Nix. They clown me for not supporting Bo Nix. Here's the sad reality of the situation. Two things can be true at the exact same time. Number one, Bo Nix has an accuracy problem throwing down the field. We know that to be true. We also know that the Broncos have a drop problem right now. Multiple drops from multiple receivers. Courtland Sutton dropped 2 passes at the time of this recording yesterday against the Houston Texans. So it's clear and obvious, like I stated before, the Broncos need another weapon. Now, regardless of what position that is, the tight end market clearly seems like something the Broncos are interested in fielding. They just were mentioned as already aggressively taking calls and making calls. So David Njoku was listed in the article, Chigakonkwo, and then another name to be floated out here just because recently the Washington Commanders have kind of imploded. Zach Ertz would be a rental option for the Denver Broncos. I've seen his name thrown out a couple of times in some different articles, but that one's a little bit lower on the tier list. These top 2 right here are names to keep an eye on for sure heading in today. Why? Well, Evan Ingram and Bo have not gelled much this season. There have been flashes, very brief flashes. Now, you can claim that that's because of the Evan Ingram injury, and that's fine. You can claim that there's not a lot of chemistry between him and Bo Nix. That is also true. The underlying product that we're getting from Evan Ingram and Bo Nix is not one that we expected heading into the 2025 season. They're just not clicking, and that's okay. So the Broncos now believe that with the injuries to their tight end room, they're not clicking between Bo Nix and Evan Ingram, that they might need to go out and get another tight end. Either way, you're either looking at a wide receiver trade or a tight end trade. But I'm going to ask you really quick. If you had to pick a position to trade for, what would it be? Wide receiver or tight end? If you're asking Moose, I don't care either way. I think both help for different reasons. And I'm going to highlight some of those reasons in my perfect Broncos trade plan. I have highlighted exactly what I believe the Denver Broncos need to do today heading into the trade deadline. And believe me when I tell you this, a move must be made if the Broncos want to be considered Super Bowl favorites. We're going to talk about that coming up here in just a little bit. Before I do that, I got to tell you about my friends over at Bubs Naturals Collagen Peptides. Look, as somebody who's about to be 30 years old, I can tell you, my hair doesn't have the same shine. My skin doesn't have the same glow as it did back when I was in my early 20s. But you know what? Aging sucks. We know this, but it doesn't have to, my friends, because if you trust Bubs Naturals collagen peptides, you can start getting that same collagen production that you had in your earlier 20s, or at least really, really close to what they had before. Again, all those stiff joints in the mornings, the recovery from the gym is taking longer, your hair might be thinning, nails might be breaking, and that skin losing the smooth glow. Starting in your mid-20s, your collagen production starts to naturally decline in your body, and that's where Bubs Naturals collagen peptides comes in. Bubs helps restore collagen levels closer to what your body not naturally had in its youth, so your joints feel stronger, your hair and nails grow healthier, and your skin looks smoother. No junk, zero sugars, zero sweeteners or fillers. It's third-party tested, NSF certified, and Sport Whole 30 approved, so you know it's clean and trustworthy. Live better longer. For a limited time, our listeners are getting 20% off Bubs Naturals by using code CHAT at checkout. Just head on over to BUBSNaturals.com and use code CHAT, and you are all set. After you purchase, they're going to ask, hey, where'd you hear about Bubs Naturals? Please support our show and tell the Moose from the Broncos Breakdown sent you. All of that in the comments and description of today's video. Sean Payton, before we get into the perfect trade plan, sounded off about a trade. He was asked specifically at the time of this recording Monday about a trade, and Sean Payton had a very interesting quote. It might not sound like much, but there's an underlying message here that I believe he's giving to you guys. Here's what he said. We would never make a trade to send a message to the team. Everyone in the locker room, our players, coaches, management, front office, knows that we're all in to win. The trade would take place, this supposed trade, if we found value in someone who could help us, period. That's it. We're not looking to send a message. Interesting. Here's what I find interesting about that. If you weren't gearing up to make a trade, wouldn't you have just given the stereotypical, hey, we'll monitor the deadline. If we find a move that we like, we'll consider making it. But he says that we're not going to make a specific message. We're not going to send a specific message to the team. Meaning, in my opinion, what that is referring to is that there is a trade that has been rumbling throughout the locker room, and players are wondering if it is sending a message. You see where I'm coming with this? So the first trade plan, or first step in this trade plan that I've got for the Denver Broncos, you got to trade Jaleel McLaughlin. I know there's a lot of players and a lot of fans out there that love Jaleel. Highlight reel Jaleel. The fact is he's only had one carry in the entire 2025 season. He's not part of the game plan. And he's not going to be going forward. There are plenty of teams out there that could use a running back of any sort. And Jaleel McLaughlin has fresh legs, and he's clearly not one of the three best running backs on the Broncos roster. Who are those running back needy teams right now? The New England Patriots have been rumored to want to get a running back. The Houston Texans could definitely use one, as we saw as we took them on Sunday. And the Arizona Cardinals, they just seem to be having a lack of any offensive talent, really. Even Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. don't gel well together. So, in my opinion, trading Jaleel McLaughlin makes the most sense. You could get a 7th-round pick swap for him. You're not going to get much. It's not going to be a lot, but you can at least get some draft capital back for him, and that would help out either way. The second part of this plan, trade a 4th for David Njoku, preferably the 4th-round pick you got from the New Orleans Saints. He got that in the Devon Vele trade, and David Njoku has been rumored multiple times throughout the last couple of days as being a trade candidate. And then Adam Schefter came back out and was like, wait, no, the Browns don't want to trade him. But then why is his name continually being thrown out only for Adam Schefter to then slam it back down, but all the other media outlets are opening that door back up? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The Sporting News was one of those that was actually on it. The Broncos have been widely reported to be in the market for a tight end. So it's not just Dianna Russini. Even in the wake of the team signing 41-year-old veteran Mercedes Lewis, they could have interest in either David Njoku or Chig Okonkwo. Now, there's not going to be too much about Chig Okonkwo in this episode, only because I'm going to be completely honest with you. He's kind of your most mid tight end in the entire NFL. He's not good. He's not bad. He's just kind of there. But David Njoku, this is a player that I still believe has a lot of juice left in the tank, and they clearly don't use him anymore in Cleveland. And if they do use him, they're using him as a blocker because Harold Fannin is their number one tight end target, period. End of story. I think David Njoku would have that rejuvenated, revitalized 2025 season for the remainder of the season on a new team. He is my top trade target. Higher than Rashid Shaheed. He's higher than Chris Olave. He's higher than Jalen Waddle. I want David Njoku on this football team. I think 2 tight end sets with Evan Ingram and with David Njoku would move mountains for this team. And it adds another blocker onto an offensive line that is missing Ben Powers and is into its backups in Alex Palczewski and Calvin Throckmorton. So that's my second plan. And then my third plan, I think this is a pretty good idea as well. If you don't go with David Njoku, so this is more of an or. It's not an and, it's an or. If you can't work out anything for David Njoku, give that same 4th-round pick that you got from the Saints and send it back to them for Rashid Shaheed. Ultimately meaning you would have gotten Rashid Shaheed for Devon Vele straight up. And that's a win. That is an absolute win. Why do I mention Rashid Shaheed one more time? Well, only because the NFC South currently looks like this. The Saints have no shot of winning their division. They don't even really look like they're close to winning games at this point. Earlier in the season, they had fight. They've got no fight anymore. So they're going to try and stockpile draft picks. They're looking for the future. They're building for 2026 and beyond. And Rashid Shaheed actually led the team last week in receiving, and he is still on fuego this season. 44 receptions, 500 yards, 2 touchdowns with an average of 11.3. The true deep threat that every single Broncos fan should feel so happy about because he stretches the field. He is a burner. He takes the top off of opposing defenses like nobody else. And then somebody on Twitter, I can't tell you who it was me, decided to post this, and that's Shaheed in a throwback Bronco. Doesn't it just look like he was born to be a Bronco? Look at that. Just soak that in for a second. It's sensational. Bring him home. Bring him home. And like I said before, I don't care if it's a receiver. I don't care if it's a tight end. Why would you add a weapon? This team is a few pieces away from being a Super Bowl favorite, not just a Super Bowl contender. We're already Super Bowl contenders. Us, the Patriots, the Colts, all of us, Super Bowl contenders. Who's the Super Bowl favorite? Well, one more move could mean the difference between winning and losing in the AFC Championship game, or getting to the AFC Championship game, or getting to the Super Bowl. That one move, that one player, that one play could be the difference in a win and a loss. So you might as well notice that when your Super Bowl window is open, you go out and you make moves. You know who's been making a ton of moves since this season even began? Howie Roseman, GM of the Philadelphia Eagles. They won the Super Bowl last year, and they believe they can do it again. George Payton, it's time for you to get aggressive and do the same. Will the Broncos make a move today? Give me a yes, give me a no. I'm going to say yes, they do. It might not be the splash one that we're looking for. I don't think it's going to be Jalen Waddle. I don't think it's going to be any huge name. But could we end up getting Rashid Shaheed? Yes, we definitely could. Could we trade Jaleel McLaughlin? Yes, of course we could. Either way, I'm hoping George Payton gets active, gets some draft capital, or gets a player. That's going to do it for us on today's episode. A reminder to hit that subscribe button, like today's video, mile high salute, be cool.